Hello and welcome to a new Google Sheets video in Practical Sheets. Today we continue with the topic of drop-downs. I know you like this topic very much. We're going to do a small variation and show you how can we order the drop-downs in various ways. For example, here, I'm going to show you what we're going to do very briefly. So we're going to have some data and we want our drop-down to have the order we want. Maybe we want the order to be alphabetically from A to Z or from Z to A, or maybe we want the order to be from a different variable. For example, here we could say that I want my countries to be ordered by population or by extension. Even going to very cool thing is that we're going to see how many times our drop downs are being used. For example, in this other sample table, we're going to have interests and we're going to see which is the interest that is picked the most, in this case comics. So what I want to do is that in my dropdown, the first option that I see is the most used, comics, and the last one is the one that is less used, in my case skiing. So this will be also a very nice experiment we're going to do at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you especially to my patrons. You can become a patron if you want to spare these 20 minutes and just download the template going to my Patreon page in the description. And if not, you can just subscribe to the YouTube channel. It also helps a lot. Without further ado, let's begin. I brought from ChatGPT a sample list of European countries with population and area. What I want to do is to do a drop down where I can order in different ways my data. For now, I'm going to randomly order it. I'm going to select all of these. And I'm going to data, randomize range. Okay, this is good. I'll just leave the header. That's it. So let's call this sheet data, and the new one we'll call it dropdown. For now, let's do a basic dropdown and let's talk a bit about the options we have ordering. So let's say we're going to call here our country. And I'm going to create a dropdown. There are many ways of creating a dropdown. I like this one in this magnifying glass. I'm going to write dropdown menu or dropdown, and here I'll insert the dropdown. And the first option we have in dropdowns is to have manual dropdown. So the good thing about, I almost never use manual dropdowns. It's recommended when you have, for example, 2 or 3 options that never change. For example, yes and no, or canceled, active, and pending, something like that. That you know that are words that will never change. The good thing about this is that you can order them manually. It's a thing that we cannot do on the other type of dropdowns that we'll look at in a couple of moments. And you can also delete them very easily. But the thing is that it's very static. So when you have very static options, for example, let's say you have 3 options. 1, yes. And then you have 2, no. And then you have 3, maybe. Okay, but maybe you want the maybe to be at first. I don't know, for whatever reason. So you could order it however you want. Okay, this is it. But actually, I will use this drop down from a range. This is the one I'm interested in. So I'll click in this square that says select data range, and then I'll click here. Then I'll stand in the field. I'll go to my data sheet and stand in Spain, and then with my keyboard I'm going to hit Control or Command Shift down 1 time, and then we could do a second time to be more flexible for new data, leaving the door open for more data. But for now, let's leave it like as it is. Let's hit OK. Let's go to our dropdown, and now we have our country. Very easy to do. If you want this to apply to all of my rows, it's very easy. You go to apply to range. In our data validation rules, you'll just hit the column key and then the A column without the row. This means that this will go up until the last row that my sheet has. So if in this example I have 1,000 rows, it will go until the row 1,000. If you have 10, it will go up until 10. If you have 10,000, it will go up to 10,000. Okay, perfect. But I've wasted 4 minutes talking about dropdowns, and I assume that you already know about dropdowns because we're going to talk a very specific case. Dropdowns is where I'm going to order them. So in this case, I want, for example, my first option for ordering is alphabetically. So how could I do it? There are a couple of ways. First way is ordering manually. So I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to data, then sort range, advanced range sorting options. I'll click the data has header row, and I'm going to sort by country, A to Z. I click order, all my table is ordered, and now I have it in an alphabetical order, my countries. And if I go here and select, I have my countries very nicely organized. But sometimes you may say, I'm not convinced because I have to do it manually. And if a new country appears or a new product or whatever, then I will have to do this process manually, and this is not the idea. So the second way is to do an auxiliary table. Unfortunately, this is an advantage that Excel has over Sheets, is that you cannot put formulas inside the dropdowns. I don't know why. It should be a feature by now, but it is not in March 2024. So we need to almost copy or duplicate this table with a formula so we can do any operation we want there, filter, order it, or whatever. So how can we do it? The easiest way, in the case that we only need, for example, ordering by the country and nothing else, then what we're going to do is right here, country, and then, well, first I'm going to do undo so that this is ordered as it was before in a non-alphabetical order, so you can easily see the result. Next, I'm going to stand in this E1 cell, write country, and then I'm going to write a formula or a function. The easiest function for ordering is called sort. So we're going to write sort and then select all of my data up until the 37 as we did before. I'm not going to give any more arguments to my sort function. You'll see here, if you go to the help, that there are many other arguments we could give. But for now, sort automatically guesses what is the best order for this type of data. In this case, it will guess that given that I only gave one column, well, it's going to order alphabetically from A to Z this column. And the next step I need to do is go to my dropdown and change the range of my dropdown. Here, I still see it not in the order I want. So I'm going to go to data, data validation, select my range, and here I'm going to change it. Some of you may say, hey, why don't you select here and go to the pencil you have here? The thing about the pencil is that it only changes this specific dropdown, okay? So to change multiple, the easiest way is to do data, data validation, select the range, and now I'm sure that all of my range is being selected, all of my rule. So now I'll leave this criteria dropdown from my range and I'll change the range. I'll click again this square, I'll delete what I have here, I'll go to my data, and then I'm going to select this E2 up to E37. Select OK, done, go to dropdown, and I'll always have it ordered. For example, if I change this name for Republic of Italy, just as an example, here it automatically orders it in my sort function, and if I go to my dropdown, I have it nicely ordered without me having to do anything else. Okay? This is the first thing I wanted to show. The second, what happens if I add new data? If I add here Colombia. So first, my sort function did not, it was only until 37. The range for the sort function was A2 up to A37. So I would like for it to be more open so that I could add new data in the future. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit F2 and remove the number at the end of the range. Okay, now here's Colombia, and if I add also Canada, I have it here. However, in my dropdown, let's see the last two countries, Switzerland and United Kingdom. If I go here, I don't see Switzerland or United Kingdom. I need to change also the range in my dropdown. So I'll do data validation, go to my rule, and here I'll change this and leave it open also. Hit done. And now I do have my last two countries. Okay, perfect. Now let's see small variations we could do to this. So the first thing is maybe I want this to be not A to Z, but Z to A. So what I could do is go to my sort function. I'll go to the help, and here I can see that I can add two additional arguments. The first one is the sort column, and the second one is if it's ascending or not. So I'm going to say, okay, we only have one column here, so let's sort by this column. And then, is it ascending? No, it's not ascending, it's descending. So I could put here a 1, sorry. So I could put here a 0, that means false. It is not ascending, it is descending. Fortunately, sort has been improved, and even if sort has empty spaces, sort removes the empty spaces, because maybe in functions such as query, when you try to do descending and you leave it open, it will bring all of these blank spaces as the first option. So this is the nice thing about sort. So my recommendation is to always use sort with these two arguments. So if you want to change it, you change this to 1 for ascending and this to 0. If it's descending, let's go to our dropdown, and now we don't have to change anything in our dropdown, and we have it Z to A. What else? What happens if I don't want to order my dropdown by name, but maybe by one of these other arguments or columns? For example, I want to order from biggest population because maybe it has more probability that I'll have customers from this country than from the least population. So why do I put here, I don't know, Montenegro? If Montenegro, almost no one from Montenegro will come to my site. I don't know, I'm just making something up. So maybe you'll want the biggest one. In this case, it's not Germany, it's Germany, yes. Maybe I want Germany first. So what could I do? How could I change this? The first thing I'm going to change is the range in my sort. I'm not going to touch my original table. I'll continue to work with an auxiliary table. So here in my sort, I'm going to widen up my range. I'm going to select all of this range because now I need to take into account the population or the extension. So I'll do C, A2 to C, and immediately it comes here. And now it's very, very easy. And maybe I'll also bring these two fields here. It's very easy because now that we changed the sort to have the two additional arguments, the column and the ascending or descending, then we could choose any column we want. Maybe we could choose the population too, and I'll leave it descending. It makes more sense. So now I have it descending, and if I go to my dropdown, now it is ordered by population, not by name. And if I want to order by extension, then I would change this for 3, the column 3, and then I'll start in France, that is the biggest, and then Spain. Perfect. One last thing that is really nice. I'm going to create a new data and a new dropdown. I'm going to call this data 2 and this dropdown 2. Let's say, let's not talk about countries anymore. Let's talk about hobbies, interests. So I'm going to say name and then interest. Okay, we're going to do a table of interests. Let's say my interest is reading. Okay, I will start with 0 information in my dropdown. I will start to build my dropdown with the information that is being inputted, typed by the users. So first one comes and say, hey, I like reading. And then comes Peter and also likes reading. So it will be nice if I already have a dropdown that given that Juan already said reading, then Peter will have the option of reading or writing anything he wants. So we're going to do this in a couple of steps. So here in dropdown, I will create a column called interests also. I'll delete this I'll click data. Sorry, here my magnifying glass. I'm going to insert dropdown. The nice thing about this magnifying glass is that it also saves the last functions I've used. So given that the last one I used was insert dropdown, then to insert dropdown again, I'll just have to go to the last used. Okay? And I'm going to leave the range up to B so that all of my column is selected. My criteria will be dropped down from a range as we did before. We're going to select my square, and standing on this field, we're going to drop down too, and we're going to select all of this column, even though there is nothing there yet. So this is step number 1, creating an empty dropdown. And very important, this step is that I'm going to select in the advanced options, instead of rejecting the input, I'm going to select show a warning, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Click down, and if you go here, I have my dropdown, and there is nothing there. Okay, now let's say Juan again likes reading. So what I want to do here is that once Juan writes reading, it will go to this list. How could we do it? Very easily, we're going to use this unique function. That is a function that removes duplicates, and we're going to stand here in B tool and go column up to the last row it finds, and close my parentheses, and that's it. So it's really nice because next time Peter comes and say, okay, I could select reading, but you know what, I don't like reading, I like comics. And then Jane comes and says, hey, let's see what options are there, reading and comics, but you know what, I like playing ukulele. And then Horace comes and he says, oh, none of this, so I'm going to create my own. Or you know what, I also like reading. And then Mary comes and she likes comics too. And June comes and he likes comics too. She likes comics too. Okay? Why do I do all of this? Because in this last part of the video, I want to order by the times it has been used in my sheet. This is a really, for me, I think it's a nice exercise, because if you know that 10 or 100 out of your 300 customers select the same thing, then maybe for the next one, the first option to appear should be the one that is more that has been selected more. So next time I want that the first thing that appears is comics, not reading, and then comics because it's the second, and then reading because the second, and then playing ukulele. And let's put another one. Kyle selects jogging. And you know what? So we can see this in action. Francis will also select jogging. And Janet will also select jogging. Finally, Mark, jogging also. So I want this to be first jogging, then comics, then reading, then playing ukulele. How do we do it? So what we're going to do is to create a new formula here that will count how many times reading is in my data. So let's use countif and go to this one, and let's see how many times we have reading. And break it down. Okay, for this to go down, I could drop it down, or maybe just do that a conditional that if this is empty, then just leave the other one empty, and if not, do the countif, and now I could drag it down until the last row. We could also do this with then I do Control D, so I have my formula in all my rows, so that if I add a new one, you see, it says skiing, and then I automatically have it, and I have how many times has it been chosen. So frequency, let's call this. Now I can do a similar auxiliary table, similar to what we have done at the beginning of this video. So I'm going to select all of, I'm going to copy this and paste it, and then I'm going to do the sort that you already know how to do. And we're going to select all of these two columns, leaving the rows out. And we're going to order by the second column, and it's going to be descending, so 0. And now we have it: jogging, comics, reading, playing ukulele, and skiing. And the thing I need to change is here in my range, drop down from a range, this will change. It's not A2 to A, but D2 to D. Something is off in my... I could remove this reading. I don't know why it was there. And that's it. So now if I try to select it again, here is the order: jogging, comics, reading, playing ukulele, skiing. And then maybe comics will change. 2 other people will select comics. John selects comics, and then comics, and then Herbert selects also comics. Now the next time, comics is the first one. Okay, maybe it's just a useless trick, but I think it's really nice to see how can we play with these formulas. You could even go further and do this without the auxiliary table. Here we could use some lambda map array formula so that everything is here, and we could do the sort. We could do the unique and the if in an array formula, and then sorted in one big nasty formula. Okay, so if you like this, in the Patreon page, please give me you can write me if you want us to do it, and we could do it, but I don't want this to be a very long video, so this is just for the hardcore sheet enthusiasts. So if any of you want it, in the Patreon page, you can tell me and we can do the exercise. Okay, so that's it. Maybe a second video of this is doing it with code, with Google Apps Script. So maybe independent drop-downs you want to be ordered. So this could be a way to move on this topic. Thank you so much. I hope you liked it. And if you want to just download this template and play with it, you can go to the Patreon page, where you can download not only this template, but more than 120 from the other videos in the channel, and we can chat if you have any problem with the code or with the formulas. And I take the chance to thank my patrons, because they make possible to continue this channel. Thank you so much, and see you next time.